So hello good people of the internet, this is Tommy Kelly and this is the book club, and in this round of the book club what we're going to be doing is Grant Morrison's The Invisibles. Not sure if that's focusing. We're going to cover the entire 4 volumes of The Invisibles, but we'll break it up so that it won't run through the whole way. So we'll do the first volume as in this deluxe thing, and then we'll do another book, and then we'll come back to The Invisibles then after that, just to break it up and to because some people might be into it, and it's a long book and people might be into comics as well, so it gives people a chance then to get into other books. So The Invisibles, what we decided to do was read the first 4 issues basically of the original series, issues 1 to 4, which was Dead Beatles, and then Down and Out in Heaven and Hell part 1, 2 and 3. And this is probably my favourite part of the entire Invisibles story, the whole thing, the first 4 chapters. I really enjoyed it. I found that when it went into, the pace really dropped in the next story in Arcadia, and I found it hard. Like the first time I read it, I stopped really, having really enjoyed these early issues. These 4 issues were originally the old trade paperback collection. And I really enjoyed that, and then I got the next one and I found it very hard to get through. I eventually did get through, obviously, and see the bigger picture of the whole thing. But this is always steps out for me for as being probably when I think of The Invisibles, it's these chapters I think of. And it begins, and so we return and begin again. And like when I started reading it again this time, it was like, well, that's exactly what it is. And then the whole reoccurrence of all these teams, start the Beatle team, it's a different type of Beatle than the Dead Beatles, and just his name is pronounced Dane McGowan. Some people had a confusion over it. It rhymes or is similar to Shane McGowan from the Pogues. I've heard people pronouncing it Danny, which is, it's not, it's Dane. So it starts with him basically. I'm not going to go too deep into all these things because we'll hash them out in various different threads that I'll set up for this. But it starts off with him obviously rebelling. His home life is a bit shit. He's not getting on at school. He has that teacher that wants him to do well, and in a sense lets him down. And there's loads of clues as we go along, like the King Mob graffiti that appears a number of times. And excuse me while I have it here. Obviously I'm just looking down. The Dead Beatles scene itself with Stuart Sutcliffe and John Lennon, where Dane gets the flashback, or sees through time, or whatever exactly that is. Stuart Sutcliffe, if people don't know, was one of the original founding member of the Beatles, who died very young. But he died after he left the Beatles. He was the bass player, and he couldn't play bass, basically. And he got I think. There's a story where John Lennon beat him up very badly and he died about a year later from, complications that arose from that. That's one story. That's the story John Lennon fans don't like it coming about, but who knows? I don't know if it's true or not. But there was definitely kind of a very deep and close relationship between the two of them. And this whole scene I just think is really, really good, and I really like it. Great John spastic face thing in it that like you just wouldn't be able to get away with that now, and he got away with it for so long. And then that thing of the two of them wondering if they died, very good. The actual thing that happens then, where Grant Morrison's hyper-sigil bit really starts in the King Mob on LSD section. Grant Morrison decided that he would have a character in this comic that would be an analogue of him, and what he wanted to do was that by making things happen to this character, the hope was that it would also happen to him, and it worked very well from that way, almost too well, as later on when we get to the scene that basically that the Matrix, one of the many Matrix scenes that the Matrix stole from us, where he's been beaten up and he's been tortured. You know that Morpheus scene in the Matrix? Well, yeah, it's the same thing. But in real life, then Grant Morrison actually, his lungs collapsed at that stage when the character in the book, a similar thing happened. And this John Lennon thing, this invocation of John Lennon actually happened too. Grant Morrison talks about that in talking with gods and other places. And at the end of it, he gets a song. John Lennon gives him a song, and there is a video on YouTube of him and singer from My Chemical Romance, which why can I not remember his name right at this moment? And he sings it at the end of it, if you are interested in that. So flying through this, Dane obviously gets, thrown out of school for, basically setting it on fire, and he's sent to like a correctional facility. But obviously the correctional facility has weirder, undertones underneath. It has, it's run by an Archon. It's trying to make kids have, personalities of their own, placate them, pacify them, all that kind of thing. Brains in jars, all that goodness. So King Mob rescues him and then leaves him on his own in London. And this is the hero journey bit where you're left on your own in the wilderness to fend for yourself. And then in the thing, there is a supernatural presence that comes to help you. And also part of the hero's journey is that you have that first say no, which of course Dane says a lot that no, that's not. So then we have Tom O'Bedlam, who is an amazing character, and the trickster character, like the very obvious trickster, wizardy character. And these scenes of In the Rain remind me an awful lot of V for Vendetta and the thing that V does to Evie to make her a stronger, better person. That puts her in jail, shaves her head, and then it's out in the rain and all that. Like, that's an immensely powerful scene that's in the graphic novel. And so it kind of reminds me, these scenes of that, there's just kind of a similar feel to it. So again, just skipping all through, we have, we're shown in the background of things that the Invisibles themselves are looking at for Dane. He's not totally left on his own. He thinks he's been left on his own, but there's an appearance of Fanny at one point on the street. And then the cool hunters, the evil hunters, come after him, and then the blue drug, what does it actually call it though? The herb or something. Anyway, so this is the thing, and then it later turns out it doesn't exist. It's all in your mind. So we get the first period of Barbalette, and these kind of reoccurring themes in it. And he's on this trip, and there's the whole thing in the Invisibles where it's like what we see or what we think is going on is not really what's going on. And it's like the thing we talked about before in the last one about Alan Chapman saying that magic itself is the reality, and all of this is the unreality. So the magic is the real bit, and the reality is the non-reality. And there's the echoes of this in the Invisibles where it's like what we were seeing and what Dane is really seeing, in like materialistic sense, isn't what the real world is. And this comes up an awful lot. And on this trip, he goes round and sees kind of a glimpse into the thing. That was kind of what the Surrealists thought as well. The Surrealist, the artists, like the most famous one probably Salvador Dali, but there's like a host of them. And their idea was that every now and again, the true essence of the universe or of the world or whatever, of reality, would show itself. And that was what they were trying to capture. Like that all of this is false. And then that moment, it shows itself, and that was, that's what they were interested in. So yeah, the next chapter then, quickly going through because I don't want to be boring and I don't want to. So again, we have more kind of Tom O'Bedlam going through initiation rites with Dane, seeing different things, loads of great chats, all brilliant stuff. Again, the struggle of Dane not accepting the future or who he is and all that, and the really brave, probably not brave, but really cool thing of just having a blank page, which, I want to know, did Steve Yowell get paid his normal page rate for that page? I hope he did, because it's very good. So yeah, so we're still Tom O'Bedlam and Dane. And this, like, here's another bit like of the Matrix where it completely just takes from. I love the Matrix, so I'm not totally criticising that way. It's the whole jump, on top of the roof and jump. Now it's a different jump in the Invisibles, but it's the exact same idea. It's the the initiation. Neo he fails on his jump, whereas Tom to a certain extent doesn't, or Dane. So again, seeing the real world, and then at the end we get the return of King Mob, and we have the first part, or the first time we see the now very famous smile grenade. And we, you know, the Invisibles come in and play more part, and Tom leaves in a kind of a sad way. So yeah, it ends with the whole purple grenade, which is very fitting. So that is the first book, if you want, or the first 4 issues of the Invisibles done. So what I would like to hear, or like to start discussions on, is the recurring themes, the idea of reality and not reality, which is reality, the hero's journey of Dane. Is what the Invisibles do, you know, fair to him? Is that the only way that he could learn to be the person he was? All the kind of background stuff, like what's the whole dead Beatle thing, that recurrent thing of Beatles. What else is in that? Where you've seen other things, like you know, not just the Matrix, has it popped up in other places, or where did Grant, you know, steal his ideas from in the first place too? Like there's that Legion TV show, and that section where Dane throws the fire grenade, the Molotov cocktail. That's at the beginning of Legion, in the first episode as well. Like that, more or less shot for shot. So it's all over the place. And I think in the end, Grant Morrison he got annoyed for a day or two about the whole thing, and then he went, no, this is what I wanted to do. This is the hyper-sigil. This was the idea. I wanted these ideas to go out into the world and do stuff. And that's what they've, you know, subsequently done. So then we can also discuss a bit about him setting up his hyper-sigil, bringing in his character, the King Mob character, and discuss things around that. And so yeah, plenty to discuss, and plenty of areas we can go down in the various threads. There will be a thread in CMG, which is the Case Magic group on Facebook. There will be a thread in the 47th. That's my turtles going insane. There will be a thread in the 47's Facebook group. You can also obviously discuss this on YouTube below in the comment section, and there will be on Patreon as well. So a number of places where we can discuss all these things. So the next chapters is going to be, this will be on for the 18th of December, and it's going to be Arcadia Part 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So if you have this version of the book, it'll be from page 129 to 228. Now I am skipping the short story. You can add that in if you want, but it's not essential to the whole thing. So that's it. This is kicking off the book club, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you all thought of all this, or thought of that. If it's your first time reading it, if it's your second time reading it, it's your millionth time reading it, great stuff. Give us your insights and what you thought of it. So until next time, good people of the internet, be well.